Hello and welcome to your West Ham Transfer Rumours show. Now, last night we discussed Marko Arnaoutovic, and if that wasn't enough, our main striker being linked with a move away or wanting a move away, our second choice striker is now being linked with a move away to Spain. So I've got Charlie with me, and I'm going to be diving into the mind of Charlie and extracting those opinions of what he thinks about Chicharito's proposed move to Valencia. First thing this morning, it came out that Valencia had actually agreed personal terms with Hernandez thanks to Sky Sports over in Italy. It's then sort of had a little bit of a twist, and it's come out that Valencia actually want Hernandez on loan, but West Ham, while they're open to the idea of perhaps selling him to raise the funds, they're not too keen on loaning him out to the Spanish club. Charlie, first things first, what was your initial reaction when you saw this news?
One of mixed feelings. I think he is someone who, if we're looking to sort of make some money to try and make some big moves, if we're looking to try and gain that from people who aren't necessarily vital to the team, then he's probably one of the people you look at. He's got a high wage and he could probably command a higher fee than most. But then once I saw it was a loan deal, I thought there's no chance of me even going near that. I think a loan deal would be a horrendous option for him now.
It isn't such a horrendous option. I suppose when you first think about it is, but he's on 140 grand a week, and if that allowed Pellegrini to sort of perhaps split Arnautovic's fee into two and use Arnautovic's wages and Hernandez's wages and go get two strikers instead of just one. Can you see why Pellegrini might be intrigued to loan out someone who's been reasonably injury prone since in Pellegrini's tenure here?
Potentially, but then you've got to think about replacing him because he does need replacing ultimately. Let's be real. Even though you're 100% right, I think the injury problems are something that would be in the back of anyone's mind while making those sort of deals. But with the people who would step into that role is Carroll and Perez, one of whom is incredibly injury prone and one of whom not everyone is convinced about yet. And so with the fact that our main guy might be leaving at the exact same time, then I think a loan just isn't something we should even consider despite the high wages. I think it's just, let's not run before we can walk. We need to figure out one replacement before we start thinking about two or three.
And that's the curveball here, though, Charlie. Do you think part of the reason we might be looking to offload Hernandez permanently or perhaps on loan as a last resort is so that we can free up the wages in order to have a look at Marko Arnautovic's contract and see if we can persuade him to stay here? Because while 2 years ago, Dimitri Payet left and Bilic wanted Payet gone, it's come out tonight that Pellegrini actually wants Marko Arnautovic to stay. So do you think this is a way of them trying to get around it and free up the money for Marko to stay?
Potentially, but if the option is give Marko Arnautovic an even bigger deal and lose Hernandez, or lose them both and stay on and get replacements, I would choose the latter. As important as Arnautovic is to our system, we can't pay the guy as much money as he wants to stay until he's 33, 34. I can't remember when his contract runs out, but it's incredibly late. We just can't do that. That's not a thing we should be. It's not smart business in any way, shape, or form, especially for someone who is known to be as streaky as he was previously. That's not a risk we really should be taking at this point when it looks like he's in his prime right now. So for me, I think if it's the option between we lose Hernandez and then we give Arnautovic an even bigger contract, or we lose them both and get replacements for both, I would choose the latter every single time.
I wasn't too surprised to see the link this morning with Hernandez to Valencia. Now, Valencia are obviously in the market for a striker. Batshuayi, he's just gone back to Chelsea and gone out to Monaco. So they're sort of like a striker down, but not only the striker down, they're sort of a loanee striker down. So it makes sense why they're trying to get the loan deal in. And I think he would do fantastic in La Liga, actually, while he's had his struggles here. My only frustration is I think he's adapted to Pellegrini's tactics a little bit. I don't think Pellegrini's necessarily adapted to fit Hernandez, apart from going two up front when he's on the pitch. I actually think Hernandez has worked out a way of playing how Pellegrini likes to. I've seen him this season dropping a little bit deeper to what I've seen in his whole career so far, if you like. And but saying that, on the flip side of it, he is our highest earner on 130 or 140 grand a week or whatever. And that's a lot of money. And if Pellegrini only sees him as a second choice striker, or if he's planning on bringing in a replacement for Arnautovic and Andy Carroll and making it good replacements, Hernandez is arguably then our third choice striker. You cannot be paying at West Ham United your top earner. Anyone over 100 grand a week has to be starting week in, week out, really, in order to justify that wage. So there's no way we can have somebody playing a third of the games of the season on that much wage, because it will eventually cause tension in terms of wage structure within the club. We're potentially seeing that a little bit with Arnautovic. We don't know the full truth, for example. But that could be one of the reasons that is behind an average running out the door. And it will cause trouble eventually if we've got a guy on 140 grand a week. And perhaps Pellegrini can see this problem eventually evolving. He thinks, I need to get rid of the guy in the high earner. I don't think transfer fee, I don't think we'll get a lot for him. I think 10 million, 15 million at the most is what we'll get because of his age and his wages. I mean, we only paid 16 for him, so it wouldn't be a great loss. But this season, I think Hernandez has actually had quite a lot of injuries, actually. He seems to only get a run of a few games, and he's got a little bit of a niggle, and he gets another few games, and he's got a bit of a niggle again. So I can understand why Pellegrini might want to offload him. The loan is risky, but it swings and roundabouts because we're being linked to loan moves at West Ham for strikers, whether it's Origi at Liverpool or whatever. Or now we're looking at Zeko at Roma. If there's a loan deal there to be had, you never know. And if we can loan out Hernandez, bring in a player that Pellegrini wants on loan, then I'm sorry, I'm for that, actually. I actually agree with that. And this is Pellegrini's, he's got a lot of moulding to do. You know, we're seeing a lot of players being linked with moves away from West Ham. I think it's all about Pellegrini's shaping his squad. One player being linked away with Charlie, which is maybe a slight surprise, is Lucas Perez has been linked to Barcelona of all clubs. Now, while you might first of all laugh at that if you're listening, if you look at his record last season in La Liga, it was fantastic. And for a few £1 million, I mean, would this be a no-brainer for any club in La Liga?
Potentially. I think there's a lot more to come from him, is maybe the way I should say it. I think with us, it's always been a bit stop-start, and he is a bit part player. Let's be real about it. And when you are a bit part player, you have to take your chance at that exact moment you get it, or you just never take your chance at all. And with him, it's been a bit unfortunate in that he hasn't had maybe as many minutes as he would have hoped, having left as a third choice at Arsenal, to come here and be third choice here or fourth choice here. I mean, for him, it's probably not worked out anywhere near as well as he would want to. You look at how well he did in Spain, and you could see why any club there would want to take the punt on him, especially if we're looking to accept around about the same amount we got for him, which I think is way less than he's actually worth. Then you could see why they would look at it and go, do you know what? A second choice guy could come in and do the bits. Yeah, why not? I don't think he fits into that team. I think they've got enough people around who can play the positions they need. But as a second choice striker to Luis Suarez, you can find a hell of a lot worse than Perez for the money that is reportedly being touted for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can take this one with a reasonable pinch of salt. And let's say you don't expect it to happen, but I think there's maybe legs in the story of him going to Spain more than going to Barcelona precisely. While it is Barcelona he's been linked to. It would be a shame. I think it would be a shame to cut his time at West Ham short. I think he's only been here a few months, and I think there's more to come for him. And I always try and say to people that Perez is what our fourth choice striker behind Carroll, Hernandez, and Arnaoutovic. There's hardly any other Premier League clubs with a fourth choice striker, never mind one outside the top six. I mean, you look at the big ones, Liverpool have only really got Firmino, Origi, and Sturridge, that's it. Spurs, you know, the injury decay, now their fans are panicking a bit tonight because they've only got Llorente, and that's it. You know, they've only got two strikers. These teams are in European competitions as well. I think we've almost got one striker too many, if anything. So I think, assuming Pellegrini can keep Carroll reasonably fit, and we've got Antonio who can play up front, we've got Alexander Silva who's looking promising as well, I think we can afford to get rid of one striker more than we bring in January. So would you be against getting rid of Arnaoutovic and Hernandez in this window, Charlie? Is that too risky? Is that too many big moves in one shorter period of time?
It's incredibly risky, but I said this a lot. We had a lot of conversations about this on the boats at the weekend, and it's the same thing. It's just about who you replace him with. And I think if we got rid of two and then got in one great replacement, then I would be happy enough with that, because Pellegrini seems to be very, very keen on Andy Carroll. He keeps playing him. He keeps playing him consistently any opportunity he gets, and then does ahead of Perez, ahead of other people. So he seems keen on him. Silva, when he did play, I thought played well, did himself a favour by doing that and stepping up to the plate. So if we sold them both or got rid of them both and then used that money to get in a very, very good replacement, you know, sow the seeds somewhere and then get that replacement in, then I would be very happy with that as a thing, because I think it's just about the replacement more than the people we let go. Because let's be real, neither of those people are replaceable. They're not Payet in the situation we were. They are Arnaoutovic in 8th when we're doing well, when we're looking good and we're looking to step forward. So in that case, it's just about who you bring in.
I kind of agree. I actually agree with you there. If we do offload Arnaoutovic and Hernandez, we only bring in one player. As long as that player is very, very good and not a sort of an upgrade on Hernandez, certainly and arguably a replacement for Arnaoutovic, then I'm all for that. Because if you go offload 2, I mean, it gives Pellegrini about 60 million, £250,000 a week in wages. That's a lot of flexibility for a manager to go into the transfer market and get somebody. You'd imagine he'd be able to attract his number one striker target for that money. And with Caro, Perez, while people aren't keen on them, that would be the other strikers at the club as well as his number one guy. Antonio is a makeshift and Silva coming through. I think we'd have enough. This season for me has always been about laying foundations, and if we sacrifice a few league positions, or we go a couple of games where we're lacking a striker, we drop a few league positions between now and May. But Pellegrini gets the guy he wants. He's got rid of people he necessarily doesn't want in the squad, and he saves a little bit of cash for summer. By all means, I think it's worth it in the long term. I keep thinking we need to be looking at next season. I think Pellegrini is. I think that's why we're seeing Obiang linked away. I gave my opinion on Obiang last night, Charlie, along with Gonzo. But what's your opinion on Obiang being linked to Fiorentina? We've rejected roughly a £9 million move, but it seems that there's another club coming to the running, which is a conveniently unnamed club.
There's a lot of unnamed clubs coming into runnings today, aren't there? I didn't watch the show, so for fear of repeating specifically probably what you said, I don't think that 10 million is enough to get a replacement as good as he is. I think if you look at, it's that thing you just said with Perez about name another club in the Premier League with a fourth choice striker as good as Perez. Name another Premier League club with a midfielder who's probably third choice right now, but then when Wilshere and Lanzini come back, potentially fifth, sixth choice, who is as good as Obiang is. I don't think there is one. When he plays incredibly well, he is a very, very, very good player. It's hit and miss as to when those performances come, however. But if you're looking to replace that for 10 million, I think you struggle. However, given the fact that Wilshere will be coming back and Lanzini will be coming back, if we have a replacement lined up who's a bit of a punt, then I'm not entirely against that. I think laying those foundations for future references, if we're getting a young guy from Europe somewhere who we maybe get for 6-7 million, like we did with Obiang originally, and we have a bit of a profit, and then that can go again towards making a bigger signing, then I'm not entirely against it. But my main stance is just don't get John Joe Shelby as replacement, because it's just not worth it.
Interesting. Anyway, that'll be it for the Transfer Rumours show tonight. And we'll have our Bournemouth preview up on Thursday night as always. Myself and Charlie are working on a Hammers Chat Insight video, which will be up at some point this week. Myself and Gonzo will be sitting there with a cup of tea as well. And then, of course, we'll have our review on Saturday straight after the Bournemouth fixture. Anyway, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Let us know below in the comments what you think of the links from Hernandez to Spain. While you might not believe the rumours going to Valencia and their personal terms are agreed, like myself and Charlie, we don't believe them either. But what's your thoughts on him potentially leaving West Ham United in the same transfer window of what Marko Navic could be? Is it a bit risky, or is it a case of trusting Pellegrini and his loss, just like it has been all along? That's been Charlie. I've been Joe. Been Hammer Chat. Subscribe if you're new around here, and we'll see you very, very soon.